Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the World Series of Sim Racing, WSSR iRacing iFlag Cup Series racing action. As we talk about sponsors here to start things off with iRacing iFlag. Go to www.iracingiflag.com to go get yourself an iRacing iFlag, which is an iFlag virtual flag system, which gives you clear indications on what the state of the flag track is like. So if it's yellow, you get a blinking light that says it's yellow. If it's green, you get a green light. And if there's any other scenarios on track, it will indicate you as well. And there's a lot more that iRacing iFlag can give you, such as the basics of virtual spotters information. Also going to be talking about that of the pit board and for digital information. But we'll talk about that later on this evening. As well, sponsor for that of the Rookie of the Year award going to be ButtKicker. Feel what you've been missing. ButtKicker, really one of the main sponsors and longest sponsors we've had here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting, and it is a system that attaches to your racing rig that allows you to feel the sounds and not just hear them. It's great for ways to enhance your racing abilities and to just get more information out there. Thank you to the two main sponsors here at WSSR iRacing iFlag Cup Series Racing Action. We will talk about more sponsors later on, but for tonight, it's road course racing time. It is race number 4 of 8, and we are here at that of the Indianapolis road course for these drivers. A track that is flat, but is also very much of a handful, and we're going to see that a lot here tonight. As for the drivers, it's going to be a lot for them. The majority of the field, though, they're racing after one man. Well, he has certainly been dominating, and that's the 15 of Vincent Sora. 3 races have been ran this season, and it's been the 15 winning all 3 of them. He's going to try to go 4 for 4, and it's a very quick and simple season. 8 races here for season number 4. It's all about who has the most points at the end of the day, and right now Vincent Sora is leading that charge by 29 points over Zach Hall. As you're seeing that 32 of Zach Hall showing how loose it's going to be coming out of that final corner, coming across the line. It's going to be a tough one as we got ourselves a minute and 45 seconds left here this evening. And thank you for joining us this evening for Saturday night broadcasting on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. My name is Sam Dyer. Joining me is going to be Robert Moyer, as well as Robert's going to be running production, doing double duty tonight. And Robert, it's road course racing. There's a couple of drivers in mind that we're expecting, but this is going to be a complete unknown for us. This is a track that I barely know, you barely know, so it's going to be a fun night of understanding this track from a booth standpoint. I would imagine for some of these drivers, they're going to be learning as well.
Oh, most definitely, Sam. Yeah, like you said, it's all new to us. It's new to some of these drivers out there, but there's also some of these drivers out here that it is not new. And starting to get the grasp on it really quick here in practice. You know, you're looking at somebody that we don't talk about too much. We give them shout outs here and there, but Michael Yarrow with a 1 minute 28 second lap time over Vincent Sora. So that 98, I didn't realize that he was a road racer.
Yeah, I mean, Michael Yarrow, who we've covered in other series here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting before, certainly is looking for a good day for himself. And for Yarrow, the thing I'm most interested by is, can he finally lead a lap? He's one of those drivers that's found himself being, up front, racing hard. But, what's crazy, Robert? Michael Yarrow has raced in the series many a times, even before Season 4, has yet to lead a lap. Could be his first time leading a lap here this evening if he continues with that speed. But as I say that, a driver we're expected to be a road course ringer tonight, Zach Hall, says, let me take that lead right before we get prepared for qualifying here in 3 seconds.
Yeah, in 3 seconds, we're going to go right into qualifying. Thank everybody out there for tuning in here tonight with World Series of Sim Racing League Cup Series, brought to you by iRacing iFlag. Man, it's going to be fun. I mean, I don't know much about the track. I mean, I know the layout a little bit. You know the layout a little bit more than I do, Sam. But it's going to be very interesting to see who can tackle this track here for the next 35 laps and, keep it on the track. I think the key is, who cares where you finish? Just keep the car on the track. And we'll have to see how this all goes, as we progress through the race. And the other factor too, Sam, is brakes. We know about these next gen cars. They say they got a heavier brake system in them. They're meant to be for road course, so we'll actually see if they're actually meant for road course racing.
Yeah, and that's going to be a big thing to watch out for. Is here's the 32. This is actually going to be Joseph McWhorter, and honestly, Zach Hall messing with me. He's running the 24 here this evening. I'm so used to him running the 32, and so it threw me off. But I talked about this is new in so many different ways. We've also got a bunch of new names coming out racing here this evening. We've got McWhorter finally able to show up, and it's going to be running, and it's seriously a driver to watch out for. But we've got two other drivers that are going to be showing themselves with their debut this evening. Going to be Jamie Lee Dunning as well as John Gallagher going to be making their debut this evening. And an interesting race to make your debut halfway through the season, as this is race 4 of 8. But as we're riding on board with McWhorter, a driver that should be challenging for a top 10, if not a top 5 finish here tonight, Robert. I mean, as he's getting ready to start his lap, let's ride on board with a 32 and get a feel of what it's like for these 13 corners, as this is a track that, like you talked about, brakes are going to be a factor. And it's the early parts of this race where the brakes are going to be very cold. They're big brakes and very easy to lock up. And you're seeing it here. Drivers already trying to slow on down, getting up to 5th gears, dropping all the way down to 3rd, 2nd. They're going to be seeing some drivers flirting with 2nd to 3rd gear for the majority of this run. They don't want to get down to 1st gear too often. But as you see, going through the S's, it's going to be one of the longest corners, trying to get through. Very narrow aspect for McWhorter here as gets ready to go down into turns number 5 and 6. And this is another portion where if you get on the throttle too often, you could go off into the dirt and into the gravel, then goes around that left-hander into the right. This is going to be a passing zone that drivers are going to be setting up for. If you get a good launch out of this turn number 7, going down into turn number 9, you go hard into the throttle, and here's a hard braking zone here, Robert, where there's only about, I would say, 2 to 3 spots where they're traditional passing zones, but there's certainly, if you overcook your tires, make a mistake, that's going to be gifting positions as well. Hard corners where you're expecting to be perfect, and just like that, touch the grass, you're off like that for McWhorter.
Wow. Well, just watching them go around here, Sam, I feel like I'm watching a snail. It's so slow. McWhorter went through that one turn so slow. I don't even know what speed he went through it, but man, he was really he was digging it and wheeling it, and then unfortunately he got loose on that, cold tires, I would imagine. Oh, as you see Mark Whitley.
Oh, wow, he holds it, and going to be brushing the wall, and because of touching the wall, that's going to be invalidating that lap. And again, even touching the grass can invalidate your lap, and the only driver so far, Collie, going to be topping the board with a 1:30.172, which is it's a decent lap for the one machine. He certainly, that is going to be a fast one for himself of that of Collie. Collie, though, during practice, he can trim this down by about 2/10. We'll see if he's able to do that for this one, as Cedric Hunter are going to be now topping the board here for the 13. And Robert, that's going to be a big thing for these drivers for qualifying. They've got 10 minutes, but they only have 2 laps to put down their fastest time. If you touch the grass, hit the wall, do anything of the sorts such as that, or go off course a little bit too much, you could be invalidating your lap, and you'll have to start all the way in the back.
Yeah, start all the way in the back, and I don't think that's something you want to do, Sam, start in the back. And here's my reasoning behind it is this race is 35 laps, like we said. But there's no stage breaks. There's no yellows. It's from the start to the end. So you gotta, the key at the beginning of the race is where the pace is going to be. You got to make it through them first 5 laps, clean, and then race the track and not your competitors. But them first 2 laps, these cars are going to be side by side, trying to go down into turn number 1, 2, 3, and 4. That's going to be crazy. And what cars will wind up, off track, lose all that ground, try to make up all that ground. It's a lot harder. It's easier said than done, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
It really is. And for Vincent Sora topping the board for the 15 again, who has been the driver that's just been winning and on a tear for himself, going to be trying to go for 4 in a row. And like I said, it's all about points. And you noted on it, there is no stage break, meaning there's no bonus points for that stage break to be given out to these drivers, which takes away an opportunity for that of Zach Hall, Brian Johnson, drivers that are second and third in points, to come back and really challenge this 15 this week. It's more of just hope that Vincent Soar makes a major mistake so he can go gain points that way.
Well, that's it. He's got to make a mistake, and we know as we're watching James here, man, coming out of that corner, man, that turn looks really tricky for these guys here tonight. But like you said there, Sam, we're going to be watching Vincent, and see what he can do, and can he? I know he's a good road racer, but can he put it all together? Is going to be the question, and that's not even just Vincent Sora. That's everybody: Cedric Hunter, McWhorter, Brendan Colley, Tom Simchek's there in fifth position. Even Zach Hall puts down in sixth. He put the fastest lap down in practice, but right now he's only sitting on the P6. So what did he change? Did the track temperature change? Did something change to slow him down almost half a second actually?
Yeah, and it actually was a weather change. Practice was very cool for these drivers. It was around that of 67 degrees for that of the ambient temperature and track temperature during practice. So it was a lot cooler. It took some time for the tires to really warm up. And for some of these drivers, they would make mistakes under their warm-up lap and wouldn't even have time to start a lap time. A little bit warmer before qualifying, so the tires got warmed up faster, got a little bit more grip to work with, and I think that's what helped Vincent Soar, Cedric Hunter, got a little bit more pace in their step from when their qualifying times, for practice times to qualifying. As here of James Kaufman in the 25, one of the last drivers on track to try to put down some times, and this is actually going to be his first time lap for himself. That of Alex Light going to be finishing up his qualifying. And those are going to be the two drivers based off of time currently. As going through these corners, what's so interesting about this Indy road course is the fact the last two corners, it's technically the turns 1 and 2 of the oval Indy course layout. So the drivers get a little bit of sense going backwards from what they're traditionally used to when they come to Indianapolis, as we're coming up to the final 2 minutes. And this is going to give Kaufman his last chances and opportunities to try to best his time, currently 13th, which is the slowest of all the drivers that have put time down.
Well, we'll have to see, but note on what you were saying there, Sam. Very interesting. As they're going backwards, coming out of that turn, and that's turn 1 and basically 1 and 2 here at Indy. That's got to be weird too to try to get used to. Going backwards. They do it at Watkins Glen. They make go backwards. They go down pit road backwards. Well, they got to do the same thing here. Go down pit road backwards than traditional. So sometimes some drivers are okay with it, and other drivers it does mess with your head a little bit. So we'll have to see how that all plays out for them too.
And also, I think the main thing for these drivers, if you're not used to this track, is the fact that it's a road course on a flat surface. You can easily, if you're not looking for the right braking markers, it can kind of throw you off at times and actually overshoot and be too aggressive into that of going into these corners with too much speed. We don't slow down enough. So that over aggression at times. Also, tire wear is going to be another factor for us to talk about as the night progresses. But I think coming in a little bit too hot in these corners and overshooting and going into the grass or into that of the dirt, going to be something to watch out for, especially in the first 4 to 5 laps. This is going to be chaotic in the start of this run for these drivers, as James Kaufman going to be one of the last drivers for qualifying, as his time going to be a 1:34.137 minute time for the 25. Only going to be up to 13th, so he'll be in the middle of the pack as qualifying has come to a conclusion here. 30 seconds before we get rolling here, Robert, and it's only 35 laps, but what are you expecting here in the early portions, and is there any fun news that you're expecting to see these drivers go through?
Fun news? No. What am I expecting in the first, beginning of this race? Keep the car on the track. I said it before. I'll say it again. When we start this race, Sam, going down into turn 1, that is where all the carnage is going to happen. Different braking points. Everybody trying to get into that turn. The cars are on the outside, on the inside. Who's going to run through the grass? So on and so on and so on, and lose all the ground and try to make up that ground. And then it comes down to, how many drivers, you lose that ground, and then all of a sudden they get in a panic stage and they're like, oh my God, God, I got to drive the wheels off this car to catch back up to where I am, and then they just destroy the car more, or they burn the tires off.
These drivers only going to have
Yeah.
2 extra sets of tires in pit road to work with, so if you feel like you need to come in, and it could be a strategy for the drivers to watch out for. We're expecting this race to have at least 1 pit stop this evening, but as the drivers are getting logged in, let's take a look at where the driver is going to lie, as it's your European Wax Center starting grid, as drivers getting a little bit of confirmation from race control of everyone, trying to make sure they're getting their P's and Q's, how to react at the start of this race, where not to be getting themselves into trouble. But the place you feel the most comfortable with is up front. That's where Vincent Sora and Cedric Hunter will be starting 1 and 2. Tom Sinchek going to be in 3rd place, with that of Joseph McWhorter going to be in 4th. That of Brandon Colley in 5th, with Mark Whitley, Zach Hall, Nick Crawford, Brian Johnson, Alexander Light, and Steven Stimpian going to be your top 11. James Vining and that of James Kaufman going to be your final drivers that put a time down, going based off of luck and based off their I rating. It's going to be that of Michael Yarrow in 14th, that of Brad Delph going to be in 15th, that of Rich Jameson in 16th, Tyler Dangler in 17th, 18th goes to Carl Pooler, as well as 19th going to be one of those newcomers debuting. It's going to be that of Jamie Lee Dunning in 19th, with the 20th position going to James Hackworth Jr. Happy birthday to James Hackworth Jr. And that of John Gallagher going to be in 21st. I think this is one thing that's super interesting for these drivers, is the fact that when you don't qualify, it is based off your I rating, and for these drivers, because we're at a road course, it's your road course I rating that is based off. So some of these drivers being placed in different positions than where they would usually be placed if we were at an oval. Well, that is your European Wax Center starting grid. Go to waxcenter.com to go find yourself more information on where the nearest location is for you. As drivers are rolling off, this is going to be their formation lap to get a little bit warmed up for those tires before we get rolling. And Robert, these drivers, turn 1 right here that we're going to be going into, this is going to be the danger zone, especially for when we go green here.
No, almost definitely. This is where you need to pay attention, braking points, like I said, and things like that. And also, once you get through that first turn right here, you see them coming through. You got to slow down, really hard turn, and then try to outbeat the car you're racing beside on the first lap. Or do these guys get single file, right away going through there, and they're like, okay, I'm cool, But like I said, these first 4 turns, I think is this going to be the crucial of the race. And it sounds like I'm beating a dead horse, but when it comes to this, I really do, Sam. These first 4 turns are so crucial, man. You don't want to lose any ground to any of these fast guys, because you're going to have some guys here, Sam, that are going to make it through these turns, and they're going to pull out with a 6-second lead, 7, 10, 9, second lead, and that's hard to make up. We're talking about road course racing. It's not like oval where you can, something happen or you can save your tires and make it. They get that far ahead. Even if you do save your tires and they burn theirs off, you're still trying to cut down 6 seconds. It's very hard.
It's extremely hard, and also kind of always the question is, do you want to make a mistake early or later on? If you make it early, you're going to lose more track position, but at least you'll be able to gain everything up and have a little bit of clean air to work with. But if you wreck later on and make a mistake, that could be costly in a lot of different aspects, on the fact that you'll only lose 1 position, but the time will still be massive. Well, the early portions of this race about to get rolling here, as this is the Category 5 Esports 100 at the Indianapolis Road Course. Drivers at the second to last corner ready to go racing, as this is race number 4 of 8 of this season, for season 4 of the WSSR iRacingiFlag Cup Series. And it's going to be Vincent Sora trying to go 4 in a row to start this season off, as he's going to have that Hello Kitty machine of Cedric Hunter to his outside. Then it's Tom Sidchek, McWhorter, Colley, and going to be Mark Whitley, your front 3 rows. That pace car is off. and we're ready to go racing here at the Indy Road Course for the Category 5 Esports 100. We are green as the drivers head down into turn number 1, and it's time for chaos on who's going to survive that. Vincent Sora already going to a very defensive line down to the inside wall, but everyone else, they're going to cycle through and hope they don't run over one another, slowing down very cautiously, not trying to run anyone over. But Robert, it's now for the chaos. Who can make it through turns 2 and 3 and 4 now?
Yeah, well, here we go. And I don't know if the admin said anything to these guys, but I got to give these guys props. They gave a lot of room. You can see everybody starting to get shuffled, getting into the positions, race the track, then race your competitor. And, well, they just made me look like a big liar because I was waiting for something to happen, Sam, and nothing happened. As we do see Joseph McCorder get pushed out of the way there a little bit. But he's going to regather it back up here as Nick Crawford and Brian Johnson's going to go. Or is he getting out of the way for everybody? No, he's getting out of the way for everybody, looks like there, Sam.
Yeah, it might have been a little bit of an issue for that 32, just not feeling comfortable coming out of the corner. And because he was so slow, everyone else was up to speed. And the 32 now going to be dropping all the way down to the middle of the pack in 8th place as McWhorter now going to be shuffled around. Drivers of the Category 5, that freaky fast team. Also going to be many others able to make these moves. There was one driver that started on pit road, Tyler Dangler, going to be starting on pit road for himself. And also John Gallagher not able to start tonight's race. So only 20 drivers on track. And up front, it's Vincent Sora, Cedric Hunter, and this is the battle for second. Hunter and Tom Sinchek as our top 3 already over 3 seconds ahead of 4th place of Mark Whitley.
And that's what I was talking about. They made it through that first laps, and you know, now they're 3 seconds ahead, and you're going to have Mark Whitley's going to have to try to get these 2 seconds of that back. But what's shocking to me is Tyler Dingler starting in pit road. What would that strategy be to do that, Sam? This is a pretty big road course. That's going to be hard for him to make that time up. Or is he still sitting in pit road?
He is actually going to be pulling back into pit road. Could have been a thought of a start and park issues for the 19. As, oh no, Tom Sinchek gets loose, in trouble for himself. Here comes the rest of the pack. Contact. He's just scattering with everyone. He's backing up and forth. He's blocking the whole track. Why not attack everyone? And just in a blink of an eye, he might be taking out even more drivers. It's going to be James Vining, who's also going to get the main contact there for the 33. And we talked about holding the brake in a lot of other series there, Robert. And I think that might have been one of those scenarios where the 8 should have just pulled it off the track instead of trying to get himself straight and wiping out 3 other drivers that got heavy contact. And Sinchek now has required damage. He has to go into pit road. Colley's going to get a penalty because of that. And you see there, one of our drivers we expected to have a great run, Zach Hall. No front bumper, no hood, the 24. Luckily doesn't have required damage, but that is a lot of damage that he's going to have to deal with.
Oh, he's going to have to deal with it. That just hurt the car that hurt his racer, Sam. I mean, no front clip, no hood, no nothing on that front end. And, I mean, this is a road course. Where he's going to struggle the most is right here going down this front stretch, you know, where the high speed is where he's going to hurt. Now, going through the turns, he's not going to be as fast as he was, but he'll be able to at least keep pace. You know what I mean? But the straightaway speed is gone in that number 24 machine, unfortunately. And I think he's the one that took the most damage because he hit Tom Simchek, like T-boned him really hard.
Also going to be James Vining, who's going to have required damage for himself after getting loose and getting inside pit wall on the straightaway by himself. Another driver that got heavy damage is the 11 of that of Nick Crawford, but issues going to be for 16th place Carl Pooler and James Rich, that of Rich Jamison, both going to be making contact with one another as Jamison holds the brake, waits, and he's actually going to be beached. The 30, that of the 86 is stuck right now, Robert.
Oh no. Somebody needs to go out and help him. Just go help him.
It's one of those rare moments where you can actually get beached on that racing surface.
Wow.
And the 86 is now going to have to take the tow. And that of Jamison hates to see it. Another driver now falling back to 12th place. And now 13th, it's Alexander Light in the 97, who's going to be off course and having issues. And talked about drivers having to be careful of going off course and making mistakes. We're now starting to see it as drivers feeling them a little bit too excited, I think, with the tires being warmed up and maybe trusting those brakes a little bit too much.
And that's what I was just trying to ask you, Sam. these guys that we're seeing spinning out and everything, what is the number one thing that they're dealing with? Just the brakes locking up on them, too much brake bias, or is it the tires, or is it all three in one?
A little bit of all three in
Well,
one. I mean, the brakes are going to take a little bit, about a lap or two to finally get warmed up. Sometimes it even might take 3 to 4 laps, which we're only on lap number 4. So we're still in that transitional phase. Tires wise, some drivers after a lap or two feel like their tires are finally warmed up. As oh no, one of our front runners, it's the 13, Cedric Hunter, now that back to 5th place, 6th place. 13 finally gets rolling, but he was up in that second position and now losing ground. And again, one of our drivers that was up in the top 3 was first Tom Sinchek. Now going to be the 13 of Cedric Hunter, making mistakes, and these are costly because it's Vincent Sora giving himself over a 6-second lead over second place of Mark Whitley. Continues to grow for the 15 machine, but back to what we were talking about, the tires. Drivers might feeling a little bit too comfortable that there's a lot of grip, and when they should be still running slow and patient. And also, if you just go off and touch the grass, that's easily going to be throwing you off the course as well.
well, yeah, that, and I also know too, with iRacing, you run through the grass gets stuck to the tires, your tires are heated up, just like you would see in real life. So that's why you see the grass splattering all over the track and everything, and then wearing off on the tires. So yeah, that's something we're gonna, pay attention to. But right now we got the three-way battle up here with Yarrow and McWhorter and Zach Hall. See right there, lost. He doesn't have the straightaway speed, unfortunately, but Yarrow and McWhorter here in that number 32 Reaper's car, man, they went down into turn 1, 3 wide there for a second.
That Reaper speed, number 32, is certainly starting to make his runs back forward. Again, he lost a lot of positions. He went from being up qualifying in 4th all the way down to 8th and 9th place, and because of everyone else's mistakes in front of him, he's now been gifted. He's now up to 6th and only 2 spots back from where he qualified. Adam McWhorter is loving the fact that he's moving forward, but you talked about it. Zach Hall under speed, and that damage is hurting him, but luckily we're in that slow zone where drivers can slowly start to make some runs forward. But certainly for the 24, it's moments like this on the backstretch where you get up to speed and you're rolling, and it just the long run and the straightaway speed not there for the 24.
I just wonder, the speed's not there, but I just wonder, Sam, maybe I should have a talk with Zach as he's racing, the Freaky Fast Racing broadcasting team there. Maybe get rid of the Jeff Gordon paint schemes. Hint, hint.
I mean, he's had some luck. And, he got his first pole rocking that scheme in the first week, but he certainly didn't win over. He came up 1 position shy over that of Vincent Sora for week 1 at Auto Club.
Oh, man.
As I do want to give note of another pass that was for 3rd place, that of Colley, able to get over that of Brian Johnson. But our first official DNF going to be Tom Sinchek in the machine. In pit road, going to be James Vining and that of Tyler Dengler. Rich Jameson has taken the tow and finally able to get rolling for the 86. He'll be in 17th, 2 laps down after sitting in pit road for over 3 minutes. That's how long the tow can take from in the middle of this course back to pit road.
Wow. Yeah, see, that's key right there, Sam. Something you don't want to get involved in, and unfortunately it did. And right now, with seasons, we are in race, what is it, number 4, correct?
4, yeah.
Number 4. And Tom Sinchek, man, this season's just been nothing but bad luck for that number 8 machine. And we know he's a great driver. It's just, I think it's the new car. Some guys have picked up on this new car, and some guys are still struggling with it, and some guys are just really struggling with it. You know what I mean? So you got your high tier, your medium, and your low, basically what I'm saying. And eventually everybody will get used to this, but this car is totally different than the last gen car that we had. So it's a struggle for some, and only being 4 races into a season, it's showing. Like for Tom, it's showing, because if we were in the other car, I'd guarantee you he'd be up there battling for the wins. So, you have to take it with a grain of salt.
Well, you also got to think of the other series that we were covering as drivers making some passes actually have struggled. Steven Stimpian having some issues out of the final corner, and he'll be losing a couple of spots for the 81. He was running up in 6th place, now back to 9th, and will actually be under fire for that 9th place position. Steven Stimpian is in trouble. That of Nick Crawford, who was involved with the Tom Sinchek incident, He's starting to close in on the 81, as well as newcomer Jamie Lee Dunning's joining into the fray here. But that 81, I think he might have gotten into the wall and had some major issues. Those tires don't look comfortable for Stympian as he loses another spot and be losing and be dropped outside of the top 10. And here we go. There goes the 4. Dunning makes the pass cleanly.
And he makes the pass clean, but you can see there on the left side of Steven Stympian, yeah, he does got damaged really hard. Left front damage on that machine there, and also, you know, the rear end there. So, yeah, the tires don't look healthy for him right now. He's got some really bad damage. But, you know, the newcomer here, just watching James here, he's a...
well, that's not where you want to be.
No, I didn't say it.
So, Robert, he certainly was doing something, but that's not where you want to be. That is, these are race cars. You want to stay on the racing surface. Don't want to be mowing too much of that grass, but thank you for the service. Grass really appreciates that.
Right.
As we're hoping to see Dunning get back on racing track, and he fell all the way back to 12th. He'll try to get back up into 10th place, but that's a lot of ground that he just gave up. That is over 20 seconds because of that issue that the 4 machine will be losing ground. And, yeah, I mean, we're only on lap number 8. But Robert, I think the big thing here is if we were traditionally at a different course, like we usually have seen for the first 3 races and for the rest of the season, we would see a stage break around this window where the top 10 would get bonus points. We don't have bonus points here this evening. It's all about making it to the end of the race. And for Vincent Sora, I would imagine he wishes that there was some bonus points to be grabbed for the 15, because that would just be pushing his lead that he has right now even bigger. As for Vincent Sora, his lead in the points coming in tonight, 29 points over Zach Hall.
Yeah, I mean, Vincent Sora would, like, you know, push, like you said. He's in the lead, push the far lead in the points, but to be honest with you, you don't need it. 29 points ahead. He's basically in week number 4. I would say if he wins this race here, Sam, and then, you know, another good finish next week, season's locked up already. He's already got it. There's, you know, that's tough. What do, you know? I
mean, you never can say never. I mean, if we look at the real life racing scenarios, I mean, first thing I think of is F1 currently, as they're in the middle of their season. There was one driver, Charles Leclerc, that won and dominated the first part of the first couple of races, and he actually just lost the points lead after other drivers have had issues. So you never know. It's a lot shorter of a season, only 8 races, but we still have next week wildcard racing at Talladega. Then after that, we have Homestead, where drivers, we know that Zach Hall and others are going to be quick to watch out at that track. And then we've got Phoenix, and then we have Charlotte Motor Speedway that's going to finish out this season. Very quick, but those next 4 races are still unknown on who could find themselves into victory lane.
Yeah, I mean, somebody could get on a roll, but, you know, my thing about this all is just with Vincent Sora, too, is that he would really have to have some bad races. You know, the second half, somebody could, you know, win.
Oh, sorry to cut you off. Driver off track. That's going to be Michael Yarrow in the 98 for 7th place, and he's still in the grass trying to get rolling. He was battling for 5th place with McWhorter, and now going to be back to 9th for himself.
Wow, this is crazy. I mean, these guys are having great, you know, feel like they're having great runs, Sam, and we're just watching this here, and then all of a sudden out of the blue, it's like the car just all of a sudden winds up in the grass, and I'm trying to figure out what's different. What are they doing different? How can you run 5 laps, keep it on the track, and then out of the blue, all of a sudden you're rolling through the grass, and, you know, do you miss a shift?
Behind that, Dunning also went off course, saw in the back of that camera shot. He's going to be back at 12th and finally getting back on course. That's the second time, same spot as last time the 4 went off track.
What are we watching here, ladies and gentlemen? Somebody help us up here in the booth.
Well, I mean, what you just described, though, of, like, you know, looking comfortable for 5 laps and then just goes off the rails, that is kind of the description that all the drivers have been stating about this car at every track they go to. They feel like it's the most unpredictable machine out there. It is a complete driver's car where you got to be prepared for any scenario, and there goes McWhorter back up to 4th. The rebound for the 32. He's finally back to where he qualified, and that mistake he made on lap 1, he's recovered completely.
Oh, and that's it. Give him props. Now, how long will the tires last for him. But right now, I mean, he does got a little bit of damage, but I don't think damage is going to matter too much, unless you're like Zach Hall, unfortunately, where he doesn't have that front end. But I mean, McWhorter right now is he's looking pretty stout. He got around one of the road ringers that Brian Johnson. That guy knows how to run road racing. Zach Hall, we know he knows how to run road racing. Brandon Colley, I know he likes road racing, but he's picked his game up this season too here, Sam, Colley wise. And he's looking good up here. I mean, he's running in third position. He's holding off all these other fast guys. So I give that number one some credit here. He's picking up the pace and doing very well.
It's also, I mean, major credit to McWhorter, who's done a great job moving forward. Right now, biggest mover of the day going to be actually Jamie Lee Dunning, who did not qualify, up 7 positions, even with all the mistakes the Force had. But of the drivers in the top 10, there are 4 drivers that have moved up 4 different positions. That's going to be Mark Whitley in 2nd place. Then also Brian Johnson's up 4 positions. Then back in 10th place, Michael Yarrow, who's up 10 positions. But you look at this cluster of drivers, this is the closest pack that we have on track of 3 drivers on top of one another. There's a couple of duels that are also going on for that of 9th place with Stympian and Yarrow. But these 3 drivers of Colley, McWhorter, and Brian Johnson, yes, they're battling. This is great photo work for us to be able to see the battling that's going on, and Cedric Hunter getting in the mix here. But gotta say, Robert, this is incredible to watch Vincent Sora. He's got himself over a 13-second gap over that of Mark Whitley, and it continues to grow. He is the only driver right now that's running a 1:30 lap time. It's a high 1:30. Everyone else is running a 1 minute and 31 second time or slower. Vincent Sora, hats off to him, as this 4-car pack is still battling for 3rd place.
To watch these guys battle for second, third, fourth position here, like you said. Back to Vincent Sora, I just think he's a robot. I don't think he's real. I think somebody needs to go check him out after the race and make sure that he's got a pulse.
I mean, comes in as the rookie, certainly a driver that we expected to thrive and do well, but I don't think we were expecting him to do this well of winning the first 3 races and then trying to come away and win 3. I mean, if we see Vincent Sora, I mean, it's very unlikely because of us going to Talladega next week. But if we somehow see that of Vincent Sora sweep the season, that's impressive all for himself. But do want to give note, more drivers that are out of this race here, Robert. James Lee Dunning has gone off track again, and he's tired of it. The 4 is now done. Another DNF here tonight. And Tyler Dangler joining in with James Vining and that of Tom Sinchek.
They just got the points that they could. They gave it a valid effort, right, Sam? I mean, that's all you can ask for out of the league drivers, to come out and give it a try. It's not your night. It's not your night. But back on the subject a little bit about, Vincent Sora. If he wins completely out through the rest of the season, wins every race, I don't ever recall, and please somebody start doing research out in Google, I don't think there's a driver that dominated a whole season like that. I mean, there's a lot of leagues out there, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there was, 1, 2 that out there that won every race to the whole season, but I don't recall ever seeing it. Have you, Sam?
I've seen it in other leagues that I've covered in other racing series, but not on Freaky Fast Broadcast.
Yeah.
So I have not seen that. That is a complete new for us up here in the booth. It certainly is. You never expect it to happen, but it certainly is possible for drivers to have those spectacular seasons of just straight dominance. As riding on board with the 77, they're getting a sense of what it's like running a lap here at the Indianapolis Road Course, as a pass was made for 3rd. That's going to be McWhorter over Colley, and Colley's starting to falter backwards, running a little bit slower, starting to see some tire wear. Robert will say, majority of these drivers, anywhere from a half a second to over a full second slower than their best lap time. Start to see that tire wear as we're closing in on halfway.
Yep, and we talked about fuel. We're halfway here, but fuel. We were told, now we don't know how far this is going to go, but Sam, we were told that some guys, if they play it smart, can make the whole race if you save the fuel correct. So we're 13 laps into this. We're about halfway through. how many drivers did start doing that, saving to see if they can, do that no stopper and possibly win this race and catch us all off guard with 5 laps to go.
Well, that's the thing for Vincent Sora is everyone else, they're running at a pace where they might be able to make it to the end and not have to worry about making a pit stop. For Vincent Sora, he might be thinking about doing an opposite strategy here. The delta of losing time, about 50 seconds to 55 seconds if you come into pit road and do a full pit stop of fuel and tires. Which if Vincent Sora tries to do that, right now he would go all the way back to 10th place. That is where he would fall out anywhere from 10th to 11th. If he came into pit road now, he would drop back to those positions. But that's a lot of ground that he would have to make up on tires and fuel. And I don't think there is if he's going to come into pit road, I'm expecting it to be a splash and go and not worry about tires. But for these drivers that are anywhere from second on back, I mean, they've been running very slow. The gap now up to 14 and a half, almost 15 seconds between first and second. I would say everyone's saving, but our leader.
Yeah, I don't think the leader. I think he shot out of a cannon and said, "I don't need to save." And maybe he's playing that strategy, like you said, get as far ahead as that he can, get way out there, and then make a pit stop and not lose too much ground. But again, that's a lot of ground to make up on such a huge track. I mean, this ain't a small road course, like I said before. So he's, we're gonna have to pay attention to see what he does. What is his trick? What is his plan? Only time will tell, right? I mean,
that's the big thing. We were told on fuel, if you're not saving, it's 33 laps we were expected on drivers if they're not saving.
Yeah.
So that means for the majority of these other drivers, the track length 2.61 miles in length. That means you got to save a little bit over that of close to a little bit over 5 miles, almost 5.5 miles. You got to save. That is a lot. And road courses driving wise, and with how slow we were talking about the first 4 corners are, you could be holding the clutch in and trying to save during those corners. But that's really the best places that you can save fuel is right here that we're watching this battle for third place that we've been keeping our eyes on. This is the closest battling on track. But this would be the positioning and spot to try to save fuel. But at the same time, with how close everyone is in this pack, I don't think or expect a lot of these drivers to be saving. They're all racing as hard as they can be to get by one another.
Well, got a question to ask you. As they're still racing here, we're watching them trying to get around one another here as Joseph McWhorter starting to pull away from Holly, Johnson, and Cedric Hunter here. If you were going to start saving fuel, I would imagine, Sam, you would have to start doing that on lap number 1, like instantly you would have to start saving, or can you push it hard for maybe 1, 2, maybe 3 laps and then start saving? When do you make that decision? Right at the beginning of the race, or do you got like a play time there that you can play to try to, spread yourself from the field?
Certainly is about a 2-lap wiggle room that you want to work with as drivers having more issues. Steven Stympian goes off course. Another driver that went off course was Alexander Light as they're back running as Stympian is slow and back to 11th. He's hoping to get a top 10 finish if possible. Here's James Kaufman, who's had damage, who's had issues. Also Hackworth, who's gone off track. But for the drivers that are up front that are trying to save fuel, they have about 2 laps of wiggle room that they can really push it on, the early portions if they felt like it, or be patient. But I would imagine majority of this field that thought, if I'm going to save fuel to try to make this a no stop, they started on lap 1. They wanted to make sure that they're good so that when they get to the end of this race and they know their fuel is good, that's when they make their final push to either keep the positioning they're in or try to run down the other drivers that did not save enough.
Right, or the driver that did not save is trying to save, and you can pick up 1 or 2 positions there, Sam, at the end where you have that driver going, man, I just need a half a lap, and they start backing off and they're saving fuel, and you're like, well, I got enough of fuel, and you just come barreling and run them down and pass them. And we see that time after time after time when it comes to road course racing, and we also see it in the oval side of things too, not just road course racing. So very interesting to see here. But right now, I'm telling you, Vincent Sora still is not slowing down at all. He is still pushing a 131 flat, basically, compared to Mark Whitley's 132.8. I mean, that is a huge difference in time.
Yeah, and we're starting to see a little bit of drop off here or there these last about 3 laps or so for Vincent Sora, and that's because he's trying to actually get by lap traffic. He's put 3 drivers officially down on track, that being Alexander Light, Hackworth, and James Kaufman. The next driver in line would be Carl Pooler in that of the 71. So right now, got to say for Carl Pooler, just stay out on track, run your own race, and that's kind of what these road courses turn into. For drivers that aren't road course specialists, their goal most of the time is just stay on track. You might get a bad day, you might get a good day, but it's more so if you're racing the track than the drivers around you. And for some, they want to get by themselves. They want to focus, get some practice in, find where the speed is, and when you get put a lap down, you kind of take a couple of corners, take some notes. What is the leader doing in these corners that I can try to take in to get a little bit faster at the end of the race? As you see riding on board with Carl Pooler, and you see our leader, Vincent Sora, closing in quickly.
It's closing in quickly, and I agree. That's the way you run a road course. You race the track and not your competitors. That's just a strong belief that I always had, Sam. So I mean, I'm the type, when I was out there racing, I would just be like, I just want to finish it, like you said. Keep the car on the track. That's all I had to do, is keep the car on the track, and the finish will come. And whatever position you get is what the position you get. As we watch Vincent Sora now put Carl Pooler a lap down, and he did the right thing there. He just moved over and let that leader go. He's no worth fighting over that. As we have pit stops starting here on lap 18.
That's going to be on the indication into pit road. That of Brian Johnson, going to be the first driver on track without an incident halfway through this race. Pit stops for the 28 machine, which this was a call that I was kind of expecting some drivers do. Half the field might be thinking, we're just going to save fuel to make it to the end. The other half might be thinking, let's pit it halfway, let's get some fresh tires, and try to run as hard as we can for the final 18 laps so that we can try to pressure our leader, or put some pressure on some other drivers around and try to get a net gain on positions just in case other drivers aren't going to have enough fuel to make it. But Brian Johnson, the only driver at this time at halfway to come into pit road. No one else is making that indication they're coming in.
Yeah, not yet. We don't see no indication of anybody trying to come in here. Like you said, Brian Johnson, 4 sets of Goodyear tires, 2 cans of Sunoco fuel, and off he goes, heading right back out to turn 1. And right now, that's going to put him in P11 as of right now. So we'll have to see if it was a great strategy call, or if he loses any positions more, which I don't see him losing any more positions. He's got fresher tires. He should be able to, mow down some of these guys and work his way back up through the field pretty easily on the back half of the field, I do believe.
Yeah, and Brian Johnson also going to be a good control car of letting us know how much time is going to be gained and lost by just coming into pit road. Brian Johnson giving up about a 50 to 55 seconds of time in the delta of coming in pit road. He had a very quick pit stop, 4.4 seconds in his pit box. Great call by his crew. And his teammate, Nick Crawford, also now going to be coming into pit road, but Nick Crawford could be staying in a little bit of extra time because he was involved with that Tom Sinchek incident back on lap number 2. So Nick Crawford, as well as Michael Yarrow, both coming in. So we're starting to see some strategies coming out. And I would imagine once we get to lap 25, we'll know who's staying out and going to try to risk it to not come into pit road.
Right. And now that everybody's coming in here, Sam, what's Vincent Sora do? He's got a 20-second lead now, and he's going to see, would this be a good time to make that pit stop? I think it would be a good time to, in the next 5 laps, to come in, or the next 2 laps to come in. You're not going to lose ground.
I mean, the big thing is if you stay out, you wait for the drivers in the top 5 currently. If you see Mark Whitley, that of McWhorter, Colley, and Hunter all come in, then you come in after them. Because for Zach Hall, he's only got a 35-second gap over. I mean, that's the difference between first back to that 6th place runner of Zach Hall, and that's enough of a gap to really run down that driver. But if you pit sooner than everyone else, that's going to give a little big buffer to Mark Whitley and other drivers of, they can back off, not really have to push the car too much here. Yes, they're going to have Vincent Sora really pushing it, but that puts them in the lead where they can be in the defensive mode and trying to hold off that 15 when he catches up to you. So there's a lot of mind games that are going to be thrown out as we're watching here. Mark Whitley trying to get by that of James Hackworth Jr. in the 23. Lap traffic and lead lap cars. This is going to be the most dangerous for Hackworth Jr. because it's a long train that the 23 is going to have to get out of the way for. Same for James Kaufman in the 25. Very sketchy, but this gives an opportunity for that of McWhorter to make the pressure for second place.
Yeah, and what a drive from McWhorter. You know, he's teammates with Mark Whitley. And that's very impressive. What a rebound. What a rebound. And I'm shocked to see McWhorter, at the beginning of the race get out of everybody's way, but there was a reason behind that. And it looks like it all played out for the way he needed it to play off now here, Sam. He got out of the way. He does a little bit of damage, like we said earlier, but in overall, he's got a solid car. Mark Whitley's got a clean car. So this is just coming down to driver versus driver. And right now, Joseph McWhorter is faster than Mark Whitley. So that's very impressive for Joseph McWhorter in that 32. Now, before I hand it back over to you, Sam, I want to know out in chat that everybody's tuning in here tonight or after the race. Leave it in the comments below this video here when you go back and watch the replay. What do you really think about road racing? Is it worth watching? Do you like watching road racing where it gets such spread out like this, or you not a fan of it? What's your personal opinion about it? So again, if you're going to watch it on the replay, make sure after you watch this, you go and you leave your comment below in the video or hit us out here in chat as we're live right now. But back to you, Sam. I just want to know what people thinks about, road course racing, because I hate it.
Yeah, there's some portions of it that I like and some fashions that I don't prefer. There's certainly, they've got their pluses and minuses of road course racing. I think the one thing for tonight is coming to these final, it's all about hyping this moment up really for us up in the booth, because this race is going to come down to, as drivers have an issue, Brian Johnson on the straightaway back to 8th place, did a 360 losing ground to Steven Stimpian.
Wow.
He came out at the last corner, did a 360, got loose, never hit the inside wall, and losing positions now, but luckily for the 28, he continues to run straight, but a major mistake for himself, but luckily keeps the style on, and he's going to continue to roll, but that was a scary spot for himself. But the mind games of who's going to get the win, who's got the better strategy? Do you come into pit road at halfway, or do you try to save it all the way to the end? And our leader now hitting pit road. Vincent Sora cannot make it. Lap 21, coming up to 22, was his decision. Sora has to come into pit road, and in front of him, it's Alexander Light, who gets into the wall, and there goes Mark Whitley, taking the lead, and luckily out of the way.
Wow, and you said we're going to hype it up. Well, you know what? You hit the trigger there, Sam, because we just in the last 5 minutes just had a whole course of action and changing of this race. Now, the question comes down to, we seen Vincent Sora, make his pit stop. McWhorter came in and made his pit stop. Probably ran the car a little bit harder than he wanted to, and used up a little bit more fuel than he probably wanted to. Then you have Mark Whitley taking over. We had Brian Johnson spinning out after making his early pit stop. And then we have Alexander Light, spinning out in front of the leaders, which could have been chaos for Mark Whitley. Oh my gosh. Wow. What? Well,
now, the pit stop of Vincent Sora here, Robert, he's going to be falling back to 5th place, only 18 seconds off of Mark Whitley in that big scare, costing Mark Whitley about 3 seconds of having to back off on the straightaway to make sure he did not get into Alexander Light, costing him time. We're now going to move up to 2nd place because we got drivers on top of one another. It's Freda Freaky Fast Racing, Collie, Hunter, they're dueling back and forth. But it's Zach Hall who's going to be the driver, trying to see if he can defend off Vincent Sora for 4th place as these drivers battle for 2nd.
Well, that's it. Now Vincent Sora's got to make it through the field. He's got fresh tires, full tank of gas. He can go hard to the wall, fast as he needs to, but he's got to work traffic too, Sam. Guys ain't just going to pull over for you. That's still positions that he's got to fight for and work his way up through now. And we just had him hit wow.
Vincent Sora into the wall, and now going to be damaged slow and losing the most time on the longest straightaway down into turn number 1. Vincent Sora, that could be the race costing moment, but it's not completely over just yet. We do know, we got reports, Colley, Hunter, and Hall all are going to be going for the no stop. Their goal is to stretch the fuel all the way to the end. Vincent Sora, yes, is damaged, but we've seen damaged vehicles be able to recover and start making moves forward, and now going to be moving past that of a lap car that goes off track. Vincent Sora over Hackworth Jr., but the 15's race isn't over just yet, Robert, because we're coming up to 10 laps to go, and for these drivers here for the Category 5 Esports 100, this is when, road course racing, we had our lull period. It's when it gets intense because drivers are going to make mistakes like you noted on. Some are going to be over driving to try to gain back all that time that they lost. And they're also going to be making mistakes because of tire wear if you're not coming into pit road.
Well, that's it. And we just seen the leader that was dominating, Vincent Sora. It happened to him. Now the question is that Vincent Sora should still have a little bit of a better car to get around Zach Hall. But Zach Hall's not going to lay over. But at the same time, he's saving fuel. So the question here was Zach Hall running so much slower pace as, down the front stretch and, the high speed corners and the high speed, straightaways. He probably saved fuel. Running slower speeds and running slower lap times saves fuel. Even though he's not trying to save, it actually helped him save. You know what I mean?
Robert, you want to hear something crazy?
Oh, I don't know.
Vincent Sora got into the wall, right? He made his mistake. And even with that mistake, he still ran over a second faster than Mark Whitley, our leader. This 15 machine, even with damage, has the speed that he could potentially still run down our leader of Mark Whitley.
Wow.
It's not over yet, but it's all on out of Hall, Colley, Hunter, and Whitley. How defensive are they going to be? Are they willing to put some crazy blocks on the 15 because he's going to be extremely fast? Here's the first opportunity for fourth place. Vincent Sora is going to have the speed in this corner, but does he want to over aggressiveness? He's going to be patient. He's going to set up for that front stretch pass, but he also could be a little impatient here because with fresher tires, you can take these corners a little bit faster. And now for Vincent Sora, has he got the patience to be slow here and then make the pass when the opening is clear? Or will he be over aggressive? It looks like he's weighted perfectly. We're now hitting what would be known as the normal oval course of the Indy course. And it's the final two corners into that of the last. And here comes Vincent Sora for the pass on fourth place. He was, when he made the incident, got wrecked, lost all his time. There, Robert, he was 20 seconds back. Coming across the line, he's going to be 16.6 seconds off of Mark Whitley. Vincent Sora now up to fourth.
Wow, and he played that perfectly with 10 laps to go. He waited for the straightaway. He knew where the speed was to get by, Zach Hall. So why battle him in the corners where Zach Hall can hold his ground? He waited, and then he got on that front stretch there and knew Zach Hall was going to be down on horsepower and just went right around him. Now, Vincent is setting his eyes on Brandon Colley here. That's his next one that he needs to try to, catch up to here of that number one. That is that, you said it, reported, he's trying to save tires. Save fuel. So he's about straight away ahead here on Vincent Sora. So very interesting strategies that are going on around here. But right now, he's got to keep this paced up here right now, because if he would do a minute per lap, with 10 laps to go, he wouldn't have enough laps to catch him.
Oh, in that last lap, Vincent Sora was over a minute and a half faster than Mark Whitley. That is the pace that he needs to put down every single lap if he wants to catch up to Mark Whitley. He's shown that he can do it, but the question is for Mark Whitley, has he been driving too fast? Gotta remember, the 77 was being very quick in the early portions of the first three laps of this race and then backed off and started losing ground. Will the 77 have used up too much of that speed in the early portions? That's going to be the big question of, does he have enough fuel to make it? Cedric Hunter, that of Brandon Colley, I think they've saved enough where they were getting a little bit racy, then backed off. But right now, for that of Vincent Sora, he's coming around the final couple of corners, and I don't think he gained enough on that last lap really to close in on Mark Whitley. It's going to be close for the 15 if he can close in the distance. Speaking of closing in the distance, Cedric Hunter and Brandon Colley, they're slowly starting to chip away on Mark Whitley, but I think it might be too big of a gap for them to close in on that gap. 10 laps to go. Thank you for joining us here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. My name is Sam Dyer. With me is Robert Moyer. Robert's also running productions here tonight. And Robert, 10 laps to go. It is now all closing in, the storybook ending. Who's going to get it done? The drivers that are going to save it to the end, or those that pitted?
We'll have to see. Only time will tell with 10 laps to go here. So don't forget, post-race interviews are coming up here, ladies and gentlemen. So please stay tuned for that and see what these guys say here. But, you know, with that being said, Sam, you know what really is funny? Vincent Sora put down the fastest lap last time by with a 1:29.78. Fastest lap of the race. So
yeah,
he's picked it up. Like, he knows what he needs to do to catch Mark Whitley. But again, Cedric Hunter and Brandon Cauley are not going to lay over and just let him go by. Saving gas or not, Cedric Hunter is one of the hardest drivers to pass in this league. And just in general, he doesn't just roll over. You really got to battle him. So how much battling, how much time does Vincent Sora lose on Mark Whitley? So on and so on and so on with 9 laps to go.
Yeah, 9 laps to go, but that, we talked about the fact that he just put down the fastest lap of the day, but then the lap after that was only 9 tenths off of Mark Whitley. He cannot be that slow. And putting down the fastest lap of the day, that actually could have hurt the 15, which is crazy to think, putting down the fastest lap, how can that hurt? Well, there's always, the talking of, you overheat the tires, but maybe you want to go with consistent speed over the leader instead of just one lap, because if you do one quick lap, that could trickle down and hurt all the laps following that. Vincent Sora could have gotten a little bit overzealous, and that could have been, yes, he's the only driver that put down a 1:29.7 second lap time, the only driver to hit a 1:29 second lap, but it could be costly, or you could do that and hope for a mistake from Mark Whitley. That's a 77 holds on. Everyone's getting that loose sensation out of the final bend, and that certainly is going to be given an opportunity for Cedric Hunter. The gap shrinks now to almost 2 seconds going into turn number 1.
Oh, my goodness. Well, it's leading up to be an awesome finish here at World Series of Sim Racing League, brought to you by iRacingiFlag, which is a proud sponsor of this league. So make sure you go over to check out iRacingiFlag.com for your simulation needs with a virtual iFlag. Like Sam said at the beginning of the broadcast, it has everything out there that you need. So make sure you go check them out and let them know that Freaky Fast brought to you. And if they see a product that interests you or you order one, make sure you use Freaky Fast 2020 to get 20%, I do believe, off your complete order. Or is it 10? I don't know. Sam does the reading.
Yeah, if we want, we actually can pop it up for the audience so you know where to go to get your information on iRacingiFlag. It's Freaky Fast 2022 to get your discount code for these drivers. And, we're questioning fuel. Or who's going to make it, who's not going to make it? Well, if you have an iRacingiFlag, you also can get yourself, talked about it, your digital pit board. It can give you so much information. Talked about the fact that you've also got your spotter information, the flag information, so much content to be given to the drivers. Well, why not also be told what the track temp is, the weather conditions, and the one key factor of tonight, what your fuel limit is looking like and what your average fuel usage is for 5 laps. So much information to be grabbed, and if you want to get that information for yourself while you're racing, go to iRacingiFlag.com and use our promo code FreakyFast2022 to get yourself a discount code. Hey, if you're trying to also expand, we talked about it, it's also the Rookie of the Year award sponsor, ButtKicker. Enhance how you're racing and feel what you've been missing. Instead of just hearing the sounds, feel it with your Gamer 2. It attaches. It's not just for video games. It's also for any type of noise that you have watching videos, movies, playing video games, not just iRacing, but shooters, maybe even just puzzle games. If you want enhancement, go get yourself a ButtKicker Gamer 2. Use our promo code FreakyFast20 for 20% off. Hey, you got both of those to make sure you got the best gaming system, you got your best rig. Well, if you haven't started yet, this is where you go. Advanced Sim Racing. It's your one-stop shop. It's kind of like the eBay of sim racing. It's got all your content that you need. You got your racing chassis. And I got to say, for advanced sim racing, they've been around since the pandemic at the end of 2020, and they've been one of the best North American shops for sim rigs and chassis. They've also got monitor stands. They got steering wheels. I mean, they got everything you need besides getting yourself a ButtKicker and an iRacing iFlag. Get those systems attached with this and use the promo code FreakyFast5 to make sure you've got the best sim rig out there on iRacing so that you can be out there performing like the drivers are on screen. Thank you for all the amazing sponsors we have here of Freaky Fast Broadcasting. And Robert, 6 laps to go. It's counting down for Mark Whitley. That last lap, a fantastic lap for himself because that was faster than Vincent Sora. Sora might have hit the plateau. He lost ground. Lap traffic also holding off the 15, and it's well pulled away from Cedric Hunter and that of Colley, who are starting to get a little trouble because Brandon Colley, he's caught up, and Vincent Sora's on his back bumper.
Here we go. It's going to come down to it. 6 laps to go here. He's got Cedric Hunter, like you said, right behind him here, and got Colley and Vincent Sora. You know, he burned off them tires, and now he has to cool them down, and I don't think he has enough of time being 10 seconds behind, and Mark Whitley, you know, keeping up the pace with Vincent Sora, basically.
Oh, boy, it's on. The battle for third. Sora is there, and Colley does a great defensive move on the back stretch, blocking the inside lane, the outside lane, just not giving any positioning for the 15. And for Vincent Sora, he had a very easy pass over Zach Hall, who was heavily damaged and just trying to salvage a top 5 finish. I mean, Robert, this is competing against a driver that's saving. He's had a fast car all night, and now this is the hardest battle before you have to go after that Hunter and Mark Whitley.
Do you give him the bump and love, or do you try to battle him? Because, you know, with him battling like this, and we said it earlier, guys ain't going to roll over here with 5 laps to go. He's going to have to battle to get around Brandon Colley, and he's going to try it, Sam. Go down into turn 1. He's going to try to outbreak that number 1 of Brandon Colley, but nope, I think he's going to think twice, and smart move. He says, it wasn't worth it.
Really wasn't, especially on the fact that, you know, turn 1 is your entry in turns 3 and turns 2, 3, and 4. If you make a mistake on that first turn, it can really cost you. As you're seeing here, an opportunity into turn number 4, not close enough. Now going to set up for turn 5, overshooting the 1. Colley just over too much into the grass, gifting that spot. Sora, with 5 laps to go, now has some clean space to work with, but it's 10.5 seconds the difference between the 15 in third place to our leader of Mark Whitley in the 77. A lot of time to be made up, and it's looking a little bit too big for Vincent Sora, but this is when it gets into crunch time. We were told by the drivers 33 laps was your window. If you were running hard, if you were able to save fuel, you might be able to make it to the end. And if it's only the lap 33, that means when we get to 3 laps to go, we could be seeing some drivers starting to putter and be forced to go into pit road.
Yeah, you just took the words out of my mouth. My question is ready, and I was going to ask you, but I don't have to ask you no more, Sam, because you're thinking right in the same brave way as me. How much gas does Mark Whitley have left? Can he make it to the end of the race? How much does Cedric Hunter have? Did they save enough with 4 laps to go? I mean, they got to do what? 2, 4, 6, 2, 4, what is it? 8 miles yet?
I mean, they've got to do about 5.5 miles of extra saving. It's close to that.
Right, but we got 4 laps to go at 2 miles. You know, we don't know, man.
It's going to be close. It's going to be very close on fuel if the drivers up front were not saving. Cedric Hunter, though, I think he might be feeling a little bit of confidence-wise that he's good on fuel. He ran only about 0.3 off of his fastest time of the night, and now is actually less than 2 seconds off of Mark Whitley, who I think he's starting to realize he may not be fully good on fuel and has been making mistakes, especially in the first about 5 to 6 corners, and has been giving up time to the 13 of Cedric Hunter. But it's been the exit of the corners where the 77 has been a lot faster and able to hold off. But here we go into the last sector of this course, of the road course for these drivers, going through turns 10, entering now that of turn 11, going on to the oval corners, which would be technically oval corner number 2 for that of Mark Whitley, trying to make the bend onto the oval surface where drivers have been finding that surface of the what would normally be known as off course and the infield going onto the racing surface of the oval. A little bit treacherous, but right now looking good across the line. 3 laps coming to 2 laps to go. Actually, excuse me, 3 laps to go, and it is currently less than 2 seconds the difference. Robert, we're closing in for first and second place positions. Vincent Sora, he's almost 9 seconds total back from that of Mark Whitley. It might be too far now.
Yeah, I think it's too far now. I mean, Vincent Sora, unfortunately laid his bed when he hit the wall. That really hurt him big time, big time. And the only way he's going to get a win out of this now is basically these two top front runners here of Mark Whitley and Cedric Hunter are going to have to run out of gas or make a pit stop. One of the two. And I don't see these guys making a pit stop. I don't think these guys are worrying about points anymore with, being in week 4. I think, especially for points for Mark Whitley, he has missed a couple races. So points-wise, really don't matter to Mark Whitley there, Sam. I mean, he can run this thing out and finish dead last, and it wouldn't matter to him because he's really not racing for the championship. Cedric Hunter, that's a little different. But again, how far back is Cedric Hunter to Vincent Sora? Is it worth the gamble to win, to gain? Really not that much?
He's 80 points back, Robert.
Oh, well, then you might just go for it. Yeah, forget it. Just go for it. It don't matter.
You've got a full send now. And this, with them completing this lap, 2 laps to go, we are into the unknown of who's going to make it to the end, because we are officially now 33 laps in. This is when we were told the drivers could go if they were at full push, not saving. Well, here we go. We're now in the asterisks of they could run out at any moment, or they might have to just pull into pit road if they feel like they're going to run out coming into that final lap.
Well, we'll find out. 2 laps to go here, ladies and gentlemen. Well, hopefully everybody enjoyed tonight's content here with Sam Dyer and Robert Moyer here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting. Don't forget that share and like button and subscribe button. And right here, that just opened up the door for Cedric.
He's now going to find himself about a second back, just going a little bit too wide. Those small mistakes, they're starting to close in. The gap between Mark Whitley and Cedric Hunter at its most was 4 seconds, but that was about 10 laps ago. It is a lot closer now. A second in difference. About a lap and a half to go for Mark Whitley, and he cannot make any more mistakes. He might be able to make at least one more if it's a small mistake, but that's it. If he makes more than that, Cedric Hunter ready to pounce, but both of these drivers into the unknown. Fuel, can they make it? Will they have to give up too much time? Because that of Vincent Sora, who got into the wall, lost over 3 seconds, could have been 5 seconds away from these drivers up front. He is currently now in the moment 8 seconds back as they come down the front stretch, cross the line. It is go time. It is going to be your European Wax Center white flag in the air for Mark Whitley, as he's going to have less than a second going into turn number 1. Cedric Hunter is there, but he overshoots it, throws it away, going to cut the course, just take the lead, give up all that positioning. He's going to try to stay close, but Cedric Hunter, that move, gave up the chance for a win here tonight, unless Mark Whitley runs out of fuel.
Well, that's it. We are in the unknowns now. We don't know if Mark Whitley has enough of fuel. We don't know if Cedric Hunter has enough of fuel. I would imagine with him full sending it like that into one, I think he felt like he had the fuel, Sam. So that's what I say about Cedric Hunter. Now the focus is back up here on Mark Whitley. He has been a little shaky the past 2 laps here with that vehicle, getting loose, a little worn down tires are gone on that thing. So he just got to keep it on the track, as he's got about a 3-second lead now over Cedric Hunter. Does he have enough of fuel, ladies and gentlemen, to make it to the end as he's coming through the back half of the road course here, Sam?
He's coming around 1 corner here, 2 to go before he can say he's a winner here and breaking the streak of Vincent Sora getting on to the racing surface, our traditional oval. 1 more corner to go. Mark Whitley, has he saved enough? He can coast it from here. Mark Whitley finally breaking the streak of Vincent Sora, and to the front stretch, the 77 going to victory lane here for race number 4 of the Category 5 Esports 100. Mark Whitley gets the win.
Well, congratulations on saving the fuel. Congratulations on Cedric finishing the fuel. Congratulations to Vincent Sora, for bouncing back here. But, as Mark Whitley was coming across that start-finish line there to take that win, Sam, I couldn't help but think back of the past a little bit. We all know the history of Mark Whitley and Vincent Sora. Mark Whitley just broke Vincent Sora's win streak here. I don't know. I was just thinking of the past of the way these two drivers are friends, but they are competitors out there on the track, and we've seen a lot of up and downs all season, in a different season with them two.
Yeah, on Monday nights, which that's coming to a conclusion here. They're in their playoffs. That drama for those drivers. Mark Whitley and Vince Sora no longer racing in that truck series, but certainly for season one, that was a fun hunt that they had, the duel and the rivalry that they grew. But man, here tonight, big credit to Mark Whitley breaking the streak. Cedric Hunter over the radio when they came across the line there to finish the race was so just frustrated. He knew if he didn't make that mistake, he had a great opportunity to go after Mark Whitley. But that one mistake into turn number one, we talked about it. Old tires, the brakes. If you haven't gone into pit road to get fresh rubber, you easily can make a mistake. Maybe you're just not used to or hoping the grip's still there. It wasn't, and Hunter makes the mistake, and the 77 gets the win. Both these drivers not really in the hunt for a championship. Vincent Sora, Zach Hall, they're the closest ones. And now with Vincent Sora finishing in third and Zach Hall finishing in fourth, Robert, the gap now going to be over a full 30 points going into our final four races of this season.
Wow. And I think Mark Whitley ran out of fuel.
He's had a little bit of assistance here from Cedric Hunter. I talked about it. Mark was really aggressive in the early portions, used up a lot more fuel than Cedric Hunter, and now feels like he's got enough to make it and possibly do some burnouts as he's made it back to the front stretch. As Mark Whitley, the 77, able to get it done here this evening. And
turn the vehicle on.
We didn't know how it was going to go here tonight, but certainly the drama did build up there in those final 10 laps.
He did. Yeah. Well, yeah, he gets to kiss the yard of bricks in a different way on a road course instead of the traditional way. But you're right, Sam. 10 laps to go. And you told me this before the beginning of the broadcast. The first half, the beginning of the race is going to be action-packed. The middle of the race is going to be, I call sleepy time, nap time. And then the end of the race is going to be something else with 10 laps to go. Well, you nailed it on the nose, man. You know you're racing.
It's like a chess match. You set things up in the beginning and the middle, so at the end it gets dramatic and quick, and that's certainly what we got to see. As Mark Whitley got the win, we're going to step aside. Robert told you, post-race show, it's coming in just a few moments. We're going to step aside for a quick moment, get our top three, and when we come back, we got Vincent Sora, Cedric Hunter, and Mark Whitley that we'll have up in the booth. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the World Series of Sim Racing presented by iRacing iFlag Cup Series action. And tonight, race number 4 of 8 road course racing, and the streak has been broken. Vincent Sora does not go 4 for 4. Instead, though, he continues with his streak of top 5s and top 10s. He's 4 for 4 in that aspect. Third place finish goes with 15. We're going to bring in Vinny and Vincent Sora now up in the booth with myself. Vinny, it's Sam, and I know you wanted the win. You had the fastest car at the beginning, but your strategy just didn't work out. Man, what was there any thoughts of potentially trying to save fuel to stretch to the end like we saw our other front two?
Yeah, in the first like 5 laps of the race, after I had kind of gapped everybody else because everybody else's misfortune, I looked at the fuel and it said that I had to save 3 laps. So I was like, well, there's no way. But apparently for everyone else through their apps that they use, I don't have. Apparently everyone else only had to save a lap. Uh, it told me 3, so I just kind of pushed and didn't really think anything of it and thought we were gonna have to pit, but I guess I was wrong and I lost the race tonight.
Well, you had opportunities. You almost closed in the gap, but you certainly had a giant scare out of turn number after the last corner. Touch us on that aspect. How was this car once you got the fresh rubber? Because it seemed like there was a lot of drivers having issues with fresh rubber, and just in those final 10 laps, it got chaotic.
Yeah, the new tires were actually worse on the car than old tires. It seemed like with this new car, you got to heat up the tires and the brakes so much that after you make a pit stop, uh, it's just really on edge for like the first 5 laps. And I got in Zach's dirty air there and got a little loose and had to save the car. I thought I was probably gonna junk it there, but thankfully I didn't. And yeah, I was able to continue on. I was thinking I could at least get to Collie, which I did. I knew I wasn't gonna be able to catch Mark and Cedric, but yeah.
Well, you certainly made things fun for us up in the booth with that charge that you made, and as well being ahead of that of Zach Hall and Brian Johnson. You continue to gap the rest of the field points wise. How comfortable are you feeling going into the final half of this season? I know it's a quick one. You got yourself going to be over a 30-point lead over Zach Hall and everyone else behind. How you feeling going into Talladega and Homestead being the next races we go to?
Uh, I feel pretty good about the points buffer. Talladega is kind of a toss-up. Anybody can win there, so it's kind of hard to be confident. You just have to avoid all the wrecks and hope that you have the friends at the end of the race. Homestead, I feel pretty good about though. That's one of my best tracks. In the previous league that we were all in, I won that race, and yeah, I like Homestead. I don't really know what's after that, but I just have to hold on to this points buffer to the end of the season.
Well, Vinny, it's looking good for you so far, and we can't wait to see how this storybook ends for the second half of this season. Before we let you go, though, the floor is yours for any shout-outs.
Yeah, I just want to give a shout out to Mark and Cedric there for saving the fuel and getting that top 2. That's good on them. I want to shout out you guys for broadcasting because you guys do a great job. Everybody in the league, my sponsor, McConey Setup Shop, and Tom Sinchek for painting this beautiful car.
That's going to be the 15 of Vincent Sora coming away with a third place finish, and he's now 4 for 4 in top 5s and top 10s so far. Congratulations, Vinny, and good luck going into these final couple of races as we head off to that of going to be Talladega next. It's going to be seen, actually, hold on a second as we bring back, Vinny, just want to say before we send you off, good luck, congratulations on tonight, and good luck going into this next races.
Alrighty, thank you guys. You guys have a good one.
As we put Vinny back where he needs to be, we bring in second place runner. That's going to be Cedric Hunter. Hello Kitty Machine, who's going to come away with that of a second place finish for himself. Cedric, you had an opportunity there coming to the white flag. Overshot turn 1. What was the main issue going to that first corner in that final lap?
I just ran out of talent, I guess. I don't know. I didn't feel like I got on the brakes that much later. Maybe too hard. I'd have to go back and watch the replay or watch the data, but they just locked up, and then once it locks up, I mean you're not slowing down and you're not turning. So I knew at that point like my opportunity to win the race was gone. It sucked, but realistically, like I was gaining on Mark, but there's just nowhere to pass. I feel like so. Even if I would have gone to him, I think I would have just had to move him. Yeah, I mean, we got ourselves in that position to be in second, to just to begin with, having that spin early on in the race, and it kind of set us back, and we had to kind of battle back. And I was hoping that everyone was going to pit, and Mark, thankfully, I guess for himself, is he played the right strategy and and he got himself a win. So congrats to him.
I mean, Cedric, we saw a lot of different strategies being thrown out, but those first, 5 laps, we saw a lot of drivers having mistakes. And you talked about the unpredictability of that first first corner and that final lap. How hard is it running with these cars? Robert and I were talking about it. It just seems like the cars are so unpredictable at any course we go to.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't want to say anything necessarily bad, but when these cars were made, I was under the impression that they would have been better on road courses than the Gen 6, and just looking at it in real life, it seemed that way too. And I might be wrong, but in my opinion, these things, from what I can see and what I could, I guess, feel behind in the sim, it just feels completely off. Um, and yeah, unpredictable, because I went through turn was a 4 and 5, I think, through that section, the double left-hander, the corner I spun out in, went through there 35 times, and just the one time it just snapped and felt, really weird. So I guess that's all it takes. So
Certainly does. Well, Cedric, we've got 4 more races left in this season. How confident are you feeling? We got Talladega, Homestead, Phoenix, and Charlotte that you might be able to get to victory lane.
yeah, I mean, Talladega is just anybody could win it. Thankfully, I have a lot of teammates and guys that are willing to work together. So hopefully we can come away with a decent finish there, maybe even a win. Feeling really, really confident going into both Homestead and Charlotte, just 2 tracks that I feel like I'm pretty good at, and I've actually ran laps at those tracks in this car, and feel pretty confident in my ability to get a good finish and hopefully win the race. So we'll see.
Well, Cedric, a strong run for yourself, coming away second place, just 1 position off from victory lane. But before we let you go, the floor is yours for any shout outs.
Thanks, man. I want to give a shout out to all my Freaky Fast Racing. Sorry, Robert, if I butchered that. Freaky Fast Racing teammates, Zach, Stemp, and Collie. Unfortunately, they kind of all had something happen to them in the race that allowed them to not get the finish that they wanted. So I want to give a shout out to Mark for winning the race. I don't believe that he had too much practice coming to the session, so he did a really good job of just learning on the fly and making the proper adjustments that were needed. And I want to give a huge shout out to all the fans out there tuning in, and as well as you guys. You guys always do a great job. So I'm always excited to go back on Monday and rewatch the broadcast, and thankful for you guys to do what you guys do on Saturday nights.
That's going to be the 13 of Cedric Hunter coming away with a second place finish. Congratulations on that, and good luck going into Talladega next week.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
As we go from second place to victory lane, we have Mark Whitley in the 77, and we have that Mark up in the booth. Mark, it's Sam, and I gotta say, tonight certainly was a lot of drama of drivers not sure what's gonna go down, but you were able to save the fuel. Man, how does it feel getting the win here this evening?
It feels great, especially considering I've only ever driven this track one other time, and during practice, I was sitting there like I felt like I was lost beyond belief. The track just felt terrible, and I just finally, the last like 2 or 3 minutes of practice, finally figured out how to hit my marks and run a decent lap. And then I told myself pretty much just keep the car on the track, just take it easy, don't overdrive it. Everybody's gonna make mistakes. I mean, you saw that the first couple laps. I mean, Tom spun out, Cedric spun out, Zach got caught up in that, and it was just kind of like a war of attrition. I just told myself keep the car on the track, and I think just taking it easy. I was just saving gas because I wasn't pushing it, short shifting, trying to make sure I didn't spin the tires. And I got around halfway in the race, and I think we were on the halfway lap. So after we completed that lap, it had been halfway, and like halfway through that lap, it told me I was halfway on gas. So I knew I just had to save a little bit. So I just kind of went into saving mode, short shifting, taking it a little bit easier. And I figured, after we got about, 10 laps to go, it said I was good. So I just kind of kept running pretty consistent, just easy lap times, and just kind of holding my breath there because Cedric was coming pretty good. And I made a mistake coming off of last corner a couple times in the race. And I about spun out about 3 times off that same corner and able to keep it going. And Cedric didn't catch me too bad. And he was starting to bear down on me pretty good there the last couple laps, but then luckily for me, he kind of overshot turn 1, locked him up. So I just had a pretty easy last lap, just kind of coasted, and I took it real slow, just trying to make sure I didn't shoot myself in the foot, and got a win. And gotta say that's got to be, honestly, that's probably one of the more surprising wins I've ever had. I was not expecting that in the least.
I mean, it certainly was a race where we didn't know what was going to happen. We thought maybe Vincent Sora was going to just run away with this thing, and then once he came to pit road, gave it opportunities. And with this win, I mean, it's a great rebound after last week's finish. I know that wasn't the way you wanted to go. We have 4 more races left in this season. Mark, how you feeling about, Talladega, Homestead, Phoenix, and Charlotte coming up? Which one of those do you feel like maybe you can get your second win of the season?
Well, I don't know if anybody can go to Talladega and be confident. I mean, if you do that, you're on some crack or something, because that's a whole different kind of beast. But honestly, I mean, all the tracks left, they're pretty good. Hopefully we can run the whole race. I know kind of trying to do double duty between this and another league, so running for points in there. So hopefully I can be able to run the full races in some of these, and I think pretty much all the tracks except Talladega. I mean, Talladega is its own wild card. It might as well be its own beast. But all the other ones are pretty good for me, pretty strong tracks. Next gen car is a handful no matter where you go. So we'll see. Vincent's going to be probably the man to beat. I mean, he would have walked. He was walking the dog on me on pace, but we just kind of snuck one in here on fuel mileage. But he's going to be tough. I mean, all the Cat 5 guys, Cedric, Zach, Hunter, pretty much all of them. They're all top class. They're all fast. So it's going to be a battle. Tonight was just kind of one of those where you just kind of stole one away from them and feels pretty good. So we'll see. Hopefully we can maybe beat them on pace next time. That'd be a little bit more satisfying, I think.
Well, certainly, Mark, you're going to be a driver to watch out for the rest of the season. You showed it here this evening. You showed it last week with qualifying. I know you're going to always be someone to watch out for. But for tonight, congratulations on that. And before we let you go, the floor is yours for any shout-outs.
Thank you. Big shout out Harpoon Design. He does all my paint schemes. I've been singing his praises probably about a year now, but the stuff's top notch. Check him out, harpoondesign.com. He can got you a little form. He can make you a custom one from scratch if you want, or if you just want to check out some stuff he's already done, you can check him out on Trading Paints. He does some awesome work. And then my other sponsor, Shop Angry Duck, they're your one-stop shop for all your custom racewear, hats, t-shirts, hoodies, like pretty much anything you can imagine apparel-wise. They can make something custom for you with no order limits. So check them out at shopangryduck.com. And then big shout out to all my family. They're always tuning in on these broadcasted races. It's always nice getting text messages whenever you win, congratulating you, or if you have a bad night, them telling you, oh, chin up, you'll do better next time. It's always a good support system, and it's always a great thing. And then put another shout out to you guys for putting on this broadcast. It's been a while, I think, since I've had a good race on Freaky Fast, so this one might be pretty good to go back and watch. A little bit better memory, especially from last week, but pretty good race altogether, I think.
And overall, you did a great job here tonight, Mark. You got yourself to victory lane, and your strategy was the one that got it done. Congratulations on tonight's win, Mark, and have a good one celebrating this.
All right, thanks, guys. See y'all later.
As that's going to be our winner this evening, the 77 of Mark Whitley. And tonight, it was all about strategy, surviving. We even heard it from all the drivers. Some talked about their mistakes and woes this evening. Some talked about trying to minimize those mistakes. I feel like everyone had something go wrong at some point this evening that put them shuffled throughout this board. As we'll take a look at our finishing results for the drivers. Mark Whitley going to come away with the win. Cedric Hunter in second, Vincent Sora in third. Thank you for all three of those drivers coming up into the booth with us here this evening. Then we're also in fourth place, going to be Zach Hall with no hood, no front clip. It didn't matter. He got it done in fourth place with just surviving. Then his teammate of Colley going to be in fifth, with McWhorter in sixth, Nick Crawford going to be in seventh. With that, Brian Johnson in eighth, Steven Stimpian, as well as Michael Yarrow going to be your top 10 tonight. Some drivers that had some misfortunes. Talked about that of Rich Jameson being beached and stuff. Comes away with a 15th place finish for himself. But from everyone from that of 16th back to 20th, not able to finish out tonight's race, as that of the 76 did not even start tonight's evening. Tonight was a wild one for sure, but Robert, man, what are some of your final thoughts before we close out tonight's call?
Well, my final thoughts is it's Indy racing. It's Indy road racing. Very interesting race to watch, Sam, from the start to finish. And it winded up not being too disappointing race after all, to be honest with the fans out there. It came down to fuel mileage. You heard Mark, he realized, halfway through the race, he had to save about a lap to make it to the end on fuel, and he did it. But at the same time, as he was doing that, we had other hungry dogs right behind him trying to get him, as we seen Cedric Hunter, go down into turn one and just blew the turn and beat himself up over that. But outstanding run. Zach Hall getting into that accident, coming home where he did. So, it was a good race. I have to give it to that much. It's Indy road racing. It's Indy road racing. What else more can we say about it, bud?
Certainly came down to the strategy at the end, and it was wild to see everyone come across the line. But it was Mark Whitley who got himself into victory lane. Robert, thank you for hopping in and doing commentary duties as well as producing here tonight. My name is Sam Dyer. Thank you for joining us for Saturday night racing for that of the WSSR iRacing iFlag Cup Series. Race number 4 is down of 8. We got 4 more races to go this season. Next week, going to be the Hot Lap Designs 266 at Talladega. 100 laps of super speedway racing action. The first time we're going to see teammates truly trying to figure out who's going to work with who and who's going to have the best teamwork to watch out for. There's certainly some teams that we have in mind that are going to be ones to watch out for, but you never know. Could be the underdog that could steal away a win on that last lap. Well, thank you again for joining us here this evening. Road course racing action. Mark Whitley, as you see the 77, going to be your winner here tonight. But we got plenty of racing action and coverage starting on a Monday next week. Monday going to be that of the NAISCC Truck Series Season 2, race number 14, playoff racing action as we head to Kentucky to see who will be getting those first points for themselves to set up for the playoffs, as they are going to be for that Kentucky race. If you don't show up on Monday, it's okay. We got short track racing on Wednesday with that of the MRRS Super Late Model Series, where they're going to have round number 5 at North Wilkesboro. Great scene in that short track racing action. It's been great to see Carl Pooler and Zach Hall giving the coverage there. And hey, maybe if I missed out on those 2 races, it's okay, because next week, race number 5, talked about it. It's the Hot Lap Designs 266 at Talladega. You don't want to miss next week, and we hope to see you then. But if you don't see us then, hopefully you just have a good night here tonight, as we got to see some great road course racing action for the Category 5 Esports 100. Congratulations to Mark Whitley. Congratulations to our top 3. And for us here in the booth, for that of Robert Moyer, again, commentary, producing, myself, Sam Dyer. Thanks for joining us on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. We'll see you Monday, Wednesday, or we'll see you next week. See you then.